Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
He, the E's turned to evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have, for Jeffuary 2022.
What? I wasn't informed?
Right, because, surprise, we're not doing Jeffuary this year.
Oh, thank fucking God.
I honestly just, I tried looking for some, decent Jeff the Killer stories, but, I think we covered the good ones last year. and then I ran out of time, because the holidays and bullshit. And
That's
2020, 2021 kind of kicked my ass a little bit. So, yeah, I've decided... for anyone who is hoping for a Jeffuary, a return of Jeffuary, I'm sorry. Also, yeah, well, we've done good with. If you have a recommendation for Jeff stories, we'll do them throughout the year. But I think I've tortured my co-hosts enough with one full month of Jeff stories. So. No, we're going to move on to just doing other creepypastas that we have on roster or that have been suggested to us. That being said, so I got to lay down a little bit of some back behind the scenes for this one because we're doing The Smiling Woman by TheThreeHundred on Reddit No Sleep. So recently, a friend of the show and podcast Ronan, Ian, shared with me a nightmare fuel image that was a title card for the first of a series of short films by ACM Official on YouTube. That almost it almost paralleled the creepiness I got when discussing Hachishaku-sama, the 8-foot-tall woman. And the series of short films is called Smiling Woman, and it's directed by Alex Magana, and yeah, just the creepy, uncanny imagery really unnerved me. And while I was talking with Ian about it, I was like, "There's got to be this has to be a creepypasta that was inspired." Because I had also I'd also heard about The Smiling Woman in context to creepypastas before, so I went out and tried looking for see if there's a creepypasta that was the inspiration for the series of short stories and stuff like that, or the series of short films. This is probably not that creepypasta. I'm not entirely sure. It might be. It may not be. There's some parallels that we'll go into in the story, but there's also a lot of differences between the short films and this creepypasta. So I don't think this is actually the Smiling Woman creepypasta that inspired Smiling Woman, the short films. But it's still a Smiling Woman creepypasta, so we're going to cover it on the show. So, I will dive into the rundown here. So, as always, you can check this out at The Smiling Woman on Reddit No Sleep. That should have been my first.
That it's such a small title for a Reddit No Sleep story.
Right? I actually thought this was Reddit creepypasta, not for about I was doing my notes and stuff for this, and I was like, wait, why do I have to set it as Reddit creepypasta? It's on Reddit No Sleep.
Well, no, the link is at Reddit Creepypasta, or Creepypasta.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay, because I also found this on Reddit No Sleep.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm reading it on Creepypasta.
Wait a minute.
That's the link you gave us.
I know. Let me double check. Oh, no. Did I read the wrong one?
Oh, God.
All right. So, we've done some fact-checking. So, yeah, on the rundown. So when Nair, because we never get his name, so it's always going to be Nair Ator. When Nair was a young boy living in a desert town where there wasn't much to do, his grandpa, who used to frequent the bars over at the local native reservation, would tell him spooky stories. Usually from some of the stories that the Native Americans told him over at the bar. One such story was a shaman laid a curse on the encroaching white man in retaliation for all of North America's colonial history, probably. Anyway, laid down this curse so that when the child of a white man bled on a sacrificial stone, it would summon a shape-shifting spirit to carry off all the children of the white man who ventured onto their lands in the hopes that the white man would be removed from their lands. So that was the story that the grandpa told the kid, and the kid got kind of spooked by that. Cut to a few months later. It's the summer. And while at a local swimming hole and exploring, Nair turns out to be that child of the white man who bleeds on the sacrificial stone, though accidentally. Over the next little bit, several kids go missing in his town, including Nair's friend Billy, who was hanging out with him while they were in the swimming hole. And an older girl who reported seeing a smiling woman wanting to play with her days before she disappeared. The smiling woman appears several times to Nair, beckoning him to come play, but Nair is always able to sort of snap out of it, like out of the trance that it seems to be inducing on him, and escape to tell his parents and the sheriff. During this, Nair's parents consider plans to move, but hang on. Nair's parents consider plans to move, but this is all but solidified on the last encounter of the smiling woman. While Nair is home alone because his parents are stupid.
Is he like singing into a brush and putting like aftershave on his face?
Yeah. And he's Nair's played by Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, there we go.
Not young Macaulay Culkin, older Macaulay Culkin. So while he's at home, alone, the doors are all locked and whatnot. She knocks on his locked doors enough times that it annoys Nair into opening the door to throw fists. However, when he opens the door, she's not there. Instead, she's now in the house because he opened the door. She nearly lures Nair into taking her hand and dooming himself, but he is able to resist and flees for his grandpa's house. Nair's parents arrive and reveal that they had installed cameras in the home, so maybe they'll be able to find out, have some actual evidence of the smiling woman, because up until this point, there hasn't been any evidence that anybody's been lurking around that anyone can find. But upon reviewing the footage, the parents promptly nope Nair away to Oregon and never return to the desert town he grew up in. Years later, Nair is now in high school, and he finds years later, Nair is in high school when he finds an old VHS tape marked The Smiling Woman, and plays it to see what scared his parents all those years ago. It's Nair in his old house, like the whole setup of like him encountering the smiling woman in his house, but he's talking to nothing. However, like he can't in the video, there's nobody else with Nair, but there is someone speaking to Nair. And it's this sort of barely human, bestial, deep voice that's rasping at him and talking back to him during the encounter. So Nair recalls the last he heard about his old desert town. The land was given back to the native reservation as part of an agreement, though only after more children went missing. And then since the land has been returned, the disappearances have stopped, but no suspects or bodies have ever been found. So that is the end of the Smiling Woman story. And so now we shall begin. Everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions at this point. Because, boy howdy, do I have a Grammar Inquisition for this story. So I will just dive into my notes on this. It's going to be one of those episodes, folks. So where we're 80% Grammar Inquisition.
It's fine. Everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisition.
Yes.
At this point.
Especially dear Austin. Mm-hmm. He actually embraces it. So, I'm going to start with this one here. I grew up in a small desert town.
Is it the first words?
Yeah, no. So, I grew up in a small desert town. It was hot, dry, and not a whole lot to do for a kid. Explore a whole bunch of nothing out in the heat or stay indoors with the air conditioning and play video games where we're about the two main choices. So I'm right off the get-go, I felt like this first section needed to be improved. So I kind of like tweaked it a little bit. So I grew up in a small desert town, period. There wasn't a whole lot to do for a kid, semicolon. Explore a whole bunch of nothing out in the heat, comma, or stay indoors with the air conditioning and play video games, period. That was about the size of it, period. Also, indoors is one word, whereas in the original sentence it is two words.
You don't know. Maybe his house is entirely made of doors.
It's very possible.
And then he is indoors.
Yes. And he's actually in a desert town in Minecraft.
My God.
It used to be that in Minecraft, to make your village population larger, it was based on how many doors you had in the village. So you would make.
Now it makes sense.
You would make a door. You would make a door house, guys. Yeah. I have a lot more to go from here, so maybe we should crack on. Not to cut the conversation short, but like I've got a lot. We got a lot to cover. I presume it may have had a lot to do with the fact we knew to respect them. If people from our town went up to one of the watering holes on the reservation, we knew to be nice, and if got a bit crowded, we needed to be the first to leave. So that's a little bit of a run-on sentence at almost 3 lines, and just commas. So I have a few suggestions. So I presume it may have had a lot to do with the fact we knew to respect them, period. If people from our town went up to one of the watering holes on the reservation, comma, we would be courteous, period. If it got a bit crowded, comma, we needed to be the first to leave, period.
Yeah, I had a different correction, but I like yours better.
Did you want to share yours? Or
because it's basically the same thing, just
cool.
You add
more better.
Yeah. Dude, we English real
good. Oh,
good.
yeah. That's why we have a whole grammar position. I'm just going to move on.
I told you, we use words real good.
See, from a young age, I had a fascination with the creepy and bizarre, comma. Don't get me wrong, it ended up giving me more nightmares than I could count, but it was worth it at the end of the day. So, I had to fix this one again because it was just, to me, it was a little run on. So C, comma, from a young age, I had a fascination with the creepy and bizarre, period. Don't get me wrong, comma, it ended up giving me more nightmares than I can count, comma, but it was worth it at the end of the day, period.
I basically do the same correction. It's just I also put a though in. So it's don't get me wrong, though. It ended up giving me more nightmares than I can count.
Yeah, I could probably take it or leave that.
Same.
Yeah, okay. Next one I have here. One night when I was about 10 years old, I was staying the night with him, comma, we did the usual tradition, period. And again, I kind of had to fix this thing. One night when I was about 10 years old and staying the night with him, comma, we did the usual tradition. Like I felt like it needed an and in there.
Or a comma. Like one night when I was about 10 years old, comma, I was staying the night with him and we did the usual tradition, period.
Honestly, maybe just like kind of on the fly here, maybe just get rid of that second night, because like it's sort of suffering from like repetition syndrome again. Like one night when I was about 10 years old, staying over with him, or even just staying over, we did the usual tradition.
Yeah?
Yay, nay?
Sorry, I'm trying to find a note that I had that was very similar to that where it's something repeating, but I can't find it. It must be something else.
Okay. Then I will move on to my next one.
Yeah.
After going through every avenue they had to try and stop all of this, a local shaman laid a curse on them. So I initially had an issue with like, after going through every avenue they had to try and yeah, honestly, I don't have a problem with that anymore. The part of that does kind of bug me though is at the end, the them, because it sounds because we don't have it could be this is sort of pulling a Mikey. This could be misconstrued. The shaman is laying a curse on the fellow natives, not the white man. So like I just sort of like had it like that the shaman laid down a curse,
on the white man.
Yeah, you can. I think you could either add the white man or just like said lay down a curse. Like don't be like that specific. Like don't be like specific in this sentence. Like wait till like the next one where it kind of goes into what the curse is about, which then explains or gives the context as to what the curse is about.
I see.
And who it's directed toward. So
I do see your original problem that you had with this that you said you're fine with. I'm going to wreck that. And,
okay, cool.
Tell you why it's bad. This is
you're just gonna pull a chair over and just like sit like reverse sit on the chair. Like, let me tell you why this is wrong, kid.
Yes, because when I read that, I read it like this: after going through every avenue they had to try to stop all this. Like I read it as every avenue that they had instead of every avenue, comma, they had to try and stop all this.
Oh,
yeah. Like I had to stop myself because I went after going through every avenue they had to try. Like I wanted to put a comma there because it sounds like every avenue that they had, but it's no.
Yeah.
Every avenue, comma they had. Then they had to do this. It needs a break there, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I also my correction for it was after going through every avenue after going through every avenue to try and stop all this. A local shaman laid down a curse because after exhausting all their avenues, they then resorted to this curse.
Mm.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one. My mom and my mom's friend, in brackets, who happened to be friends with my mom, comma again small town, end bracket. Honestly, I might I might start the bracketed part at again small town. So like it would read my mom and my mom's friend who happened to be friends with my mom, in brackets again, comma small town.
There's way too many moms there.
No, I think it's fine. Like honestly, I kind of like it the way the way it's heard that way.
Wouldn't it just be like
like because
my mom and my friend's mom were friends. Again, it was a small town.
Yeah, I guess you could go that way. Yeah. Yeah, or my mom and my friend's mom who were friends themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, that would work as well. Although, yeah, I do just kind of like I don't know. There's just like two double words is bad repetition. To me, three words as a repetition in a sentence is actually just kind of poetry.
Three moms is too much.
No, three moms is just enough. Anyway. Moving right along.
It's weird that we're saying this because I just watched what's it called? 3 Men and a Little Woman or something like that. That movie.
Oh yeah, 3 Men and a Baby or something like that.
No, there's a sequel after.
Oh
that,
god,
she's grown up a little bit.
Oh no,
where it's 3 Men and a Little Woman or something like that.
Right, yeah, because it's about like 3 guys trying to be dads.
Yes,
adorbs. Moving on to the next thing here. After several hours of swimming, I decided I wanted to go exploring, considering the fact the watering hole allowed to fairly dense brush and trees to grow for some ways, comma.
Sorry?
Maybe several football fields or so, comma. And that was rare for where we lived, period. So yeah, I'm very proud of myself for like reading that entire like run-on sentence without like any pauses.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how I fixed it. After several hours of swimming, comma, I decided I wanted to go exploring the local area, period. The watering hole allowed for fairly dense brush and trees to grow for some ways. And then in brackets, maybe several football fields or so, period. Also, some ways is 2 separate words, where in the original it is some ways. And actually, I continue on. So after the bracketed part, after the sentence with the bracketed bit, that was pretty rare for where we lived, and it got me excited. Period. Just again, I'll add a little bit extra, like sort of like kind of just retooling the sentence, basically.
Mm-hmm.
like taking what's there and just kind of correcting it or like improving it a little bit. At least the way I see it.
What if the someways, instead of separating it, needs a capital S because it's a creature that we don't know about named someways?
So the dense brush and trees grow for some ways, like they
Yes.
grow for some ways, some
Yes.
ways.
Yes.
Maybe, probably not, but maybe.
Definitely no.
Definitely, maybe.
Yeah.
Wait, that's the name of the smiling woman.
Some ways, yeah.
There you go. What a revelation!
I actually this might go. This should probably be in actual thoughts, but I'm going to insert it right now because you brought it up, Mikey. Damn you straight to hell. I'm actually kind of proud of this story for not just using a name drop of a Native American like creature. Like we're not getting Skinwalker or Wendigo in this story. It's just it's sort of analogous. Like what like this creature doesn't really have a name aside from the smiling woman. It's descriptor, and that's to me that's fine. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's their own OC.
Yeah. Also, because most of the time, people who write stories about those monsters, they generally get the mythology wrong and the folklore wrong. So
yes, but it's safer to just make your own.
Yeah, it's safer to make your own, or like, I guess it might even be a little bit more respectful.
Yeah.
So, especially given the current climate of how we are of indigenous people, and moving right along. So, I was having a grand old time pretending I was the crocodile hunter, off to catch me a croc hour 2. So it says like hour instead of or. So that's how I just like that's the one thing I was like off to catch me a croc or 2. Also, I'm actually kind of fine with the way. So the way it says like I was having a grand old time, and it's like grand old time. I don't know if that's the wrong way to say it or if that's like a regional dialect thing, but like honestly, I'm kind of fine with that.
Okay.
But croc hour 2 definitely needs to be croc or 2.
Unless you're trying to say it in a weird accent, like that's
unless you try. Like if we have Australian listeners, I'm sorry.
You say or like hour.
Yeah.
It's more of an oor.
Yeah.
A crocker 2.
Yeah, like like. And again, it's sort of like us, like our Canadianisms. Like people think that we say a boot when we're saying about.
I'll say this though: if it is meaning to say it in an accent, it would probably be quoted, not just written normally.
Yeah, 100%. Like maybe like it's like I was having a grand old time pretending I was the crocodile hunter, which is in and the crocodile hunter is in quotes, but then keep the quotes going. It's like off to catch a croc or 2. Honestly, I think that would be the best way to do it. Is just make it in quotes that just show that you're applying an accent of some kind.
Yes.
But I'll move on to the next thing here. I inspected it closely. There was a bit of blood, but not too bad. Giving myself the thumbs up that I wasn't too hurt, I continued on my journey. So I fixed this. I fixed this sentence to say this. So inspecting it closely, comma, I found there was a bit of blood, comma, but it wasn't too bad. Period. I gave myself the thumbs up that I wasn't too hurt and continued on my journey. Period.
Yeah. Sure.
Cool.
I'm also saying words, so yeah, sure.
Awesome. Moving on to the next one. I came into a clearing where there was a fairly big rock and a little less vegetation than everywhere else. It didn't seem too odd to me, as I figured the fauna were simply starting to thin out as I got further away. So this is what I got for like kind of retooling that sentence a little bit. I came into a clearing where there was a fairly big rock and a little less vegetation than everywhere else, period. It didn't seem too odd to me, as I figured the flora, because fauna means animal, not plant, was simply starting to thin out as I got further away. So, yeah, my big thing was I feel like the comma that was after everywhere else should be a period to break up the sentence, and flora should replace fauna in the original sentence.
Yeah, and I would have added a from the watering hole to the end of the last sentence there. So as I got further away from the watering hole.
Okay, that would be an improvement as well. Okay.
Otherwise, you're getting further away from the big rock.
Yes. So moving on to the next one. Finally, I stood up, deciding to head back so I could get just a bit more swimming before we had to go home. Man, it is so hard to read something with the error in it.
Yeah.
So in this case, so like deciding to head back so I could get in just a bit more swimming before we had to go home. So
It's capitalized and everything. I.
What? Yeah, the I. Well, the I is capitalized. Yeah, so that might have been an auto thing that happens sometimes in Word documents where like you left a lowercase I there. Oh, you must have meant an uppercase I.
I see.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one here. Oh, I remember this one. Okay. We stopped at the natives bar in brackets and grill in bracket on the way home, where our parents picked us up delicious, start bracket. If you ever had a burger from a decent bar and grill, you'll know no other fast food quite matches it, end bracket, comma. But very greasy burger and fries for dinner tonight. Fuck. Like, okay. I feel like you should either place that bracketed mention about like, how delicious the food is at a bar and grill, either at the very end of the sentence, or just cut it out entirely. Like, you don't need that fat.
Or just add it in as a second sentence. It doesn't need to be bracketed.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, that would work as well. Yeah, as a secondary sentence, because like it just muddles up the sentence when it's put in the middle of it. Like, because it should read, "We stopped at the natives bar and grill on the way home, where our parents picked us up delicious but very greasy burgers and fries for dinner tonight. If you ever had," and then that's the end of that sentence. And then we start the next one. If you've ever had a burger from a decent bar and grill, you'll know no other fast food quite matches it. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that done. Mic drop. I'm out.
Also, the first bracket of and grill doesn't have to be there. Just say,
it really doesn't.
Just bar and grill.
Yeah, like it's like, yeah, okay, that's worst case scenario. That's racist. Second, or best case scenario, like, yeah, just it can be a bar and grill. It doesn't have to be just a bar that also serves grill food. Like,
yeah, it's not like it's called the Natives Bar, so you have to leave it as the name.
Yeah, exactly.
Bar and grill, so that's what it is.
Yep. And
in the second bracketed section, it refers to it as a decent bar and grill.
Yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, don't do. Yeah, get rid of those brackets at the. Get rid of the brackets entirely in the sentence. Too many brackets. Throw one away. In fact, throw them all away.
Yeah, there's a lot of brackets in the story itself.
Yeah. And like sometimes they're handy. Like sometimes they are good for like getting sort of like as an aside, like here, like this is some information you should know. But when you rely on them too much, that's when you have a problem.
I think they're more handy in a story that has a lot more dialogue going on, because the whole thing is basically all narrated. So it's all already like an aside anyways.
Well, they're being, in this case, they're being used as annotation. So like something that you like, they're something that comes up in the story like that the audience may not have like be privy to. That's when they're like adding some clarity to it, like to the situation. At least that's usually how it is, like when they're used in like not in dialogue sort of situations like this.
Yeah.
But I digress. I'll move on to the next one. Once home, it was business as usual. Little bit of TV, then bed. I didn't know at the time my life would never be the same after I woke up the next morning. So I fixed the sentence a little bit. Once home, it was business as usual, comma, a little bit of TV, comma, then bed, comma, unaware at the time my life would never be the same after I woke up the next morning. Period. So I just, I did like a little bit, not little bit of TV, and I just didn't like the part. I was like, I didn't know at the time my life would never be the same. Blah blah blah. Like I feel like unaware at the time kind of makes it better to me.
Yeah, it does sound a little better. Yeah.
And then this one's, I think I have a couple of short like short and sweet like corrections. So like not like I'm not rereading the sentence over and over again. So I'll start with this quote here. I normally would have slept in until about 10 a.m. on a summer's day, but my mom woke me up at a way too early 8 o'clock. So summers is just set like it's lowercase summers. And I feel like it should be capitalized summers and also have an apostrophe between the R and the S to kind of make it a possessive summer's day because it's a summer's day.
That shit always annoys me.
I know.
Doesn't apostrophe S mean you're saying summer is?
No.
At one point,
no.
when I was learning how to English so good, I thought it was like like S apostrophe, like you put it on the outside when it's possessive. Is that true or no?
It is and it isn't.
It is when it's like a name, right?
No, so yeah, so when it's when they use so like when it's somebody's name like
Bills's.
Yeah, or like the Mosley, or like say the Mosleys, because it wouldn't be it doesn't sound good to say like the Mosleys', so it's like the Mosleys' house, and the apostrophe would be at the end of the like on the other side of the S than what it would usually be, because there's already an S there, so
yeah, they don't put a second S, they just put in the apostrophe.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, you're right. Like, because it like the apostrophe between like summer and S, yes, the apostrophe can be there for when it is summer is, but it can also be there as a possessive because, say it with me, guys, I hate the English language.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's just because there's different. It depends on the context in the sentence.
What pisses me off though is they have a specific context that works to make it possessive only when it's a name that ends with an S.
Yes.
But if they just use that specific style in all possessive manners, then it makes sense across the board. Because you don't use it any other way.
Yeah, I mean, that's just life.
I know. It's not like I'm going to change how the English language works, but personally, if I could, I would.
50 years later, and you'll see, class, that gamer in yellow, the savior of the English language, just
pioneered English 2.
Yeah, and that is why we learn English 2.0. Okay, moving on.
One day.
Yeah, one day. What? Billy would never do that. There was no way Billy would run away. He had no reason to, and he just wasn't the type. He would never want his parents and friends to be worried over him.
Oh, fuck,
so
that ruins part of my notes, honestly. Shit. Sorry, please continue.
Okay. So there's like there's a little bit of dialogue at the beginning here where it's like, what? Billy would never do that, and then end dialogue, and then there was no way Billy blah blah blah. The there is not capitalized, and I feel like it should be because it's technically the start of a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Also, so where it says like and he wasn't the type, comma, he would never want his parents and friends to be worried over him. I feel like that comma should be a period to like start a new sentence as well. But I'll move on. The sheriff claimed there was no evidence of forced entry, no fingerprints that shouldn't have been there, no sign of a struggle or violence. So fingerprints should be one word, and in the story, it's two words, and that's the first of I think two instances where that comes up. Also, the way it says that shouldn't have been there. It literally is like sort of like the slang of the sheriff, I think, that's kind of getting muddled into the actual sentence. Because it's like, yeah, like people like shouldn't have been there, like that kind of way. But it's supposed to be like proper grammar wise. It's supposed to be that shouldn't have been there, not shouldn't have been there. Moving on to my next one. She on the other hand, okay. She on the other hand, fuck. It's because this is like it's one of those error situations. So
Yeah.
She on the other hand had disappeared during broad daylight while walking home from a nearby friend's house. So that first had should be hand.
Mm-hmm.
And also there should be an apostrophe between the D and the S in friend's house.
S apostrophe.
I mean, I suppose it could be an apostrophe. Actually, honestly, with friend's house, it might honestly be. I hate the English language so much.
I know. It should just be uniform across the board. It's a possessive house.
Yeah.
You go to the house, you get possessed. That's what it is.
Clearly. Moving on to the next one here. This one's, I think, a little bit more nitpicky, but I will just continue. The sheriff promised to be... no.
Actually, hang on. Before you do that,
Okay.
I'm going to let you finish, but you should have put a comma in the last sentence.
Should I?
In my opinion. Because the way it reads now with your correction is, she, on the other hand, had disappeared during broad daylight while walking home from a nearby friend's house. But the way I would read it and write it is, she, on the other hand, comma, had disappeared during broad daylight.
Okay, yeah. I like that. I agree with that. Okay, moving on to the next one. The sheriff promised to get to the bottom of things, though, and... Wow, sorry, I just found another typo. Yeah, so the sheriff promised to get to the bottom of things, though, and Neighborhood Watch went on steroids. So, big issue here, I just caught now, is that so the sheriff promised to get to the bottom of things, though, comma, and Neighborhood Watch went on steroids. Also, Neighborhood Watch, I feel, should be capitalized. Because it's sort of
the entire thing, just all caps.
No, I know.
You're just making a 1 second little joke that you can move on from. You complaining about is making this being drawn out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Because the group organization, so like it should be a name. It's the name of an organization or of a group, so it should be capitalized. Anyway, it was a few days after the girl's disappearance when I was lying down for sleep. My parents double and triple checking every window and lock in the house when I heard a tapping at the window. So I kind of corrected this sentence. I've been correcting this story the entire time. It was a few days after the girl's disappearance. Take a quick break for a second. Girls should have a possessive, or is possessive, so it should have an apostrophe between the L and the S.
After it. In my perfect world, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'll continue on. So yeah, it was a few days after the girl's disappearance when I was lying down to sleep. Period. My parents double and triple checked every window and lock in the house. Period. As I began to drift off, comma, I heard a tapping at the window. I heard a tapping at the window. Period. So, yeah, that's how I'd fix that sentence. It's just add a couple of periods and like elaborate a little bit, just to just do some course corrections. So next thing here, no evidence of anyone being there was found. No footprints, no fingerprints on my windowsill or on my window seal. Nothing.
What is seal?
I get what there's. Fuck. Okay, so we got some. So my first go to like corrections here is again footprints and fingerprints should be one word, like footprints and fingerprints, like as two separate or as two. Footprints should be a single word. fingerprint should be a single word.
I know.
Not.
I wasn't gonna
I
jump
know.
on that.
I was just. I'm sure someone out there is like, well, actually, review cultist. No, anyway. But yeah, also on my window seal. So like I kind of get like because window seals are like the ceiling the sort of like the sealant that's around the window to keep like the cold in or cold out and like or make sure the cracks aren't there. But I honestly feel it should be on my window sill, not seal.
I read
Right?
it as sill.
Yeah, I read it as
Get
sill the first time
seal
too.
If it means, I get seal if it means seal because like to open the window, you have to grab the window and like lift it up a bit, and odds are you put your hands underneath over the seal to lift it up, but you wouldn't be leaving fingerprints there. It'd be on the window.
Yeah.
In the window frame.
Well, that's part of the windowsill is the window frame. So like you'd be like if you're like holding onto the window frame, you'd be holding onto the windowsill.
Yeah.
Also, just something I caught again, like so no evidence of anything being no evidence of anyone being there was found, comma, no footprints, comma, no fingerprints on my windowsill, nothing. So I feel like no footprints on the or like maybe I'll add a little bit extra to no fingerprint to the no footprints part where it's like no footprints on the ground, no fingerprints on my window seal, nothing.
Yeah. I was gonna say no, that's ridiculous because where else would you put footprints? But I like the balance of it, saying there's no footprints here and there's no fingerprints here.
Yeah, that's honestly like what I meant. For like just to kind of like add a little bit of a balance, and also because otherwise, like it's like no footprints, and then immediately goes into after a comma, it immediately goes into no fingerprints, and then gives an example of where they'd be. Yes. So yeah. But I'll move on to the next one here. The next day, I was outside playing in our backyard. My parents wouldn't let me more than 20 feet from the house when I saw her. It again. So when I saw her, comma, it, comma, again. So I honestly feel it. I would if I was writing this part, I would probably add in like when I saw her, ... it, ... again.
Yes,
just like
me too.
So like create like a bit of a tension buzz. Also, I feel like. Oh, sorry. Yes, Mike.
Yeah. Well, there's something else there that I didn't like, but you're still talking about it, so go on.
Yeah. I also feel like brackets should go around the part where it's like so rather than a comma after backyard, it's like so. The next day, I was outside playing in our backyard. In brackets, my parents wouldn't let me more than 20 feet from the house. End bracket. Like that's a good time to use that. I'll use the brackets to like kind of give a little bit of information that helps the story.
I don't know if that's necessary.
It may not be necessary, but like it's one of those instances where I would use brackets. So,
or I'd go the next day. I was outside playing in our backyard, but only 20 feet from the house because my parents wouldn't let me wander away.
That one that works as well, yeah. And then would you have like have it end there like at the end of that sentence, and then like start a new one? It's like it was there. It was out there that I saw her. ... It ... again ...
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can go with that one. I can accept that.
Yeah. And my issue, which Gamer fixed, was my parents wouldn't let me more than 20 feet from the house.
Wait. You can't be within 20 feet of the house.
Oh. Well, more no. From that, you're right. It's not away from the house. It's from the house.
Yeah.
You are a liability. There's creatures after you. You ain't getting anywhere near.
We are. Yeah, exactly. Stay the hell. Like, nope. Just 20 foot pole.
Yeah.
Just push the kid at the full extent of a 20-foot pole.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Thank you, Mikey. I need that laugh. All right, on to the next one here. Or unless you have anything else, Mikey.
No.
When I noticed my hand had involuntarily made it halfway to her is when I finally managed to snap out of the trance and ran screaming back to my house. So again, I kind of had to fix the sentence a little bit because there's no fucking punctuation whatsoever in that entire sentence. So I read it as thusly. So when I noticed my hand had involuntarily made it halfway, and again, halfway in the original is 2 words, but should be 1 word. So when I noticed my hand had involuntarily made it halfway to hers, comma, I finally managed to snap out of the trance and run. No, I finally managed to snap out of the trance and ran screaming back to my house. So just like a simple, just a comma just needs to go on after hers, and also change her to hers so that it's like we know that his hand is halfway to her hand because she had her hand held out in the previous sentence. And this is a case where you don't need an apostrophe on either side of that S. Gamer, are you just fuming over there?
No, I was accidentally muted.
Okay. No, fortunately muted because I was screaming.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. So I'll move on to the next one here. Okay. So I'm almost done, guys.
Sure you are. Sure you are.
Thankfully, I heard my parents that night talking about moving. They considered several options, including my mom and I staying at my aunt's in Oregon, while my dad got the house ready for sale and continued to work while looking for a job in Oregon. Of us all staying here while they found us a house somewhere else, and a few other similar ideas. So I kind of looked at this bit and I was like, something wrong with it, and I need to like kind of try and fix it. So I again retooled the sentence to say thusly. Thankfully, I heard my parents that night talking about moving, period. They considered several options, semicolon. My mom and I could stay at my aunt's in Oregon while my dad got the house ready for sale and continued to work while looking for a new job, period. Then again, comma, we could all stay here while they found us a home, while they found us a house somewhere else, question mark. A few other similar ideas were brought up as well, period. Just again to try and like just give proper punctuation and clarity.
Mm-hmm.
At least the way I saw it. So again, if anybody out there, if it hasn't been brought up before, or if you haven't heard it before from us, this is a heavily opinionated show. So like this is very subjective to our like how we see things.
It's not like we're teachers or English majors or anything like that.
God, no. Yeah, we're just a couple of fucks who mostly enjoy creepy stuff and reading creepy stuff.
A few chuckle fucks, unless one of us isn't a chuckle fuck. This couple means two.
You're French.
Moving. Oh.
What? What do you mean I'm French? What are you talking about?
Well, in French, couple means more than two.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm
moving
saying
on.
Couple means two, not three. So if anything, Cultus is French. I'm not French. Rather, he is. It doesn't matter. This is completely irrelevant to what we're talking about.
A couple days actually went by.
Is that really what you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Is that 2 or 3 though in your eyes?
It's multiples.
Yeah, is that 2 or 3? Those are also multiples.
Yes.
Oh, god damn it.
Fuck yeah. A couple of days actually went by incident free, and I was starting to hope I had seen the last of the Smiling Woman. when talks about a kid going missing in the town I mentioned with the McDonald's in it. Period. Okay, so I had to fix this, but like everything was going well until the Fire Nation attacked. Everything was going well until after the Smiling Woman. Then like the sentence kind of shit the bucket.
That's the story in a nutshell as well. Everything was fine until the Smiling Woman showed up.
And it was, oh my god. Okay, yeah. All right. So, anyways, this is how I fixed the last bit of the sentence. Like he thought he had seen the last of the Smiling Woman when talks about a kid going missing in the town I mentioned earlier with the McDonald's in it began circulating. Like,
it's way too specific. Like, you don't have to bring up the fact that it's that specific town, because doing so uses a lot of words. Is that what you're about to say?
Oh no, I was just like, it's just the way it was originally done. It like, I was a little confused at the end because it didn't properly kind of clarify like what was happening. So it's like when talks about, this is from the original, when talks about a kid going missing in the town I mentioned with the McDonald's in it, like is he like for me, like that was like hurting my brain because I was like, is he mentioning that the town I mentioned with the McDonald's in it, or is the in it about the kid in that town?
No, it's talking about they drove 40 minutes to get to a town that had McDonald's. That's what he did with his grandpa.
Yeah, I remember that part. Yeah, I like that's
the
that's
McDonald's in it.
Yeah,
that's
what it's referencing.
About.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what he's mentioning earlier. So I just needed like a little bit extra like clarification as like for this part of the sentence, just to like make.
If
like,
that town was named, this would be way easier.
Yeah, but nothing is. And actually, that okay. So like, that is actually something about this story. It's like there's no names given to anything in the story. Like,
what about Billy?
We know Billy. We know Billy's name, and we know that they leave this desert town in this desert state for Oregon. We know Oregon exists in this world, and Billy exists. And Billy existed in this world.
Ah, yes. No, he's still playing.
Yeah. No. Did you not read? Did you not hear what the Smiling Woman said? Where they're playing? In her stomach.
Yeah, but she's Kirby.
Okay, yeah.
So it's fine.
Sure. All right. I'm just gonna move on.
Okay.
My last one, guys. My last grammar inquisition. Though the story doesn't quite end here, a few years after I was in high school and had become a normal functioning teenager, I found a VHS tape that was just marked with tape over it. So I get like after that one comma I mentioned, there's no punctuation. So I had to go in and do some retooling again. Though the story doesn't quite end here. Period. Done. No. Sorry, I had to get that one out. Though the story doesn't quite end here. Period. A few years after that, after I was in high school and had become a normal functioning teenager, I found a VHS tape that was just marked with tape over it. Period.
I'll say this. After, though the story doesn't quite end here, I would knock it down to a new paragraph.
Yes, that would also be really good.
Because it's a time skip.
Yeah. Yeah, like sometime later. An eternity later. Much like this grammar inquisition.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So anyways, I'm done my grammar inquisition. I'm tired. Here, Mikey. Here, I'll throw you the pitchfork.
What about the torch the porch and pitchfork?
I'm going to throw the torch at you if you're not careful.
You actually got a torch this time, not a porch, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Mikey, just go, please.
So, you got my grammar inquisition, so all that I have left is a conjunction junction.
All right. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
But anyway, He always brought back odd tales and folklore to tell me on nights I'd spend a night over at his house. It would be a shapeshifter that would steal away all their children. Any new child brought onto the land or born on it would be stolen until only the natives remained. But at 10 years old, it gave me goosebumps anyway. It was a few days after the girl's disappearance, when I was laying down for sleep, my parents double and triple checking every window and lock in the house, when I heard a tapping at the window. So instead of running to get my parents, I went to the window. But, as you would expect, no one was there. It was odd. Despite being scared shitless, I had the urge to agree and take her hand, and this time there was something oddly soothing about her despite her disjointed appearance and smile that was still too big for her face. It took them a long time to get here since both had about a 40-minute drive to work. The sheriff arrived before they did. It showed me standing in front of nothing, but what was important wasn't what it showed, but the audio. It was the conversation I had with her that day, but the entire time her voice was this low, raspy, bestial sound. Finn.
Wow. Yeah, I personally like I was while I was reading the story and like taking my notes, I was like I saw a bunch of these and I was just like I was about to like I was kind of in just like well see my above like how much grammar inquisition I had.
Yeah.
I was kind of in a mode. I was like, no, I'm gonna save that for Mikey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do that. It was a saving grace. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And for those unaware, Mikey reads off these strings of sentences of all sentences that start with words they shouldn't start with, because there's always better words that you can choose aside from its, ands, or buts.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. All right.
And so onwards to Gamer in Yellow.
Yes.
Okay, I got a couple that you missed, I believe, unless I didn't hear you read them for some reason. This first one just kind of bugged me just because of repetition. But anyway, he always brought back old tales and folklore to tell me on nights I'd spend a night over at his house.
Yeah, I think that was the one that we were talking about earlier. Like, it was the one that you thought was the one that I had brought up, but it wasn't.
Okay. But
So,
either
yeah.
way, I just switched it to he always brought back old tales and folklore to tell me on the times I'd spend a night over at his house.
Yeah. Perfect.
So it's not
Mm-hmm.
double nighting.
Mm-hmm.
Happy as I could be, I got ready, comma, swimming trunks on, comma, goggles ready, comma, sunscreen forced onto me, comma, and we were ready to go. So, I know I said a lot of commas. I feel like it needs one more, honestly.
Okay.
Because then it would be happy as I could be, comma, I got ready. And then maybe even a colon there, because that's about to do a list. And then list
Yeah,
the things
that's
you're
true.
doing to get ready.
Yeah, honestly, like all the comments that you mentioned, like were fine because they were listing off things. So.
Yep. I sat down on the rock while holding the sides, comma, letting me catch my breathe again.
Oh shit! Really? Okay, damn it.
That should be
I
breath.
Japanese that one.
The next several hours consisted of the sheriff coming by to ask me questions that I had no answer to. So that sounds fine. However, he's asking questions, so he would have no answers to, plural, instead of
Yes.
answer to.
Yep.
Thinking about it as an adult, I figure it was this ellipses thing trying to fit into a world it didn't quite understand. And this is the one that I was trying to remember from before. I feel like it would have a little bit more, I don't know, drama to it or whatever if it was thinking about it as an adult, comma. I figured that this ellipses, trying to fit into a world they didn't quite understand.
Yeah, sort of like this thing. Yeah,
trying to
like
fit into a world they didn't quite understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The
that is
dramatic
it
effect.
Yes. And that is it for my grammar in yellow.
Okay. So on to actual thoughts, which is much smaller. For me, it's much shorter than my grammar acquisition. I'm sorry. Not by a whole lot. So I'm going to start with this thing here. The most noteworthy thing was about a week before she went missing. She had started talking about how the smiling woman kept trying to get her to play. Of course, her parents, at the time, chalked it up to an act of imagination, and in hindsight, I think they weren't too worried about a woman. Now, if it had been the smiling man, they probably would have been a bit more alert. And I was like reading that, as like, yeah, that kind of checks out. Like, that does seem like a common reaction. Like, if somebody's like, if somebody's talking about like a smiling man that wants to play with you, you're a little bit more on edge.
I mean, like, grown women can be kidnappers too.
No, you're right. You're absolutely you're absolutely right. However, society generally, like, I think for the most part, like in our society, we tend we tend to be more on edge about a guy versus a woman. Like, yeah, I think, yeah, if it had been like the smiling woman, like, yeah, they're probably just chalking it up. It's like, oh, she's got an imaginary friend or something like that. Where if it's like a smiling man who wants to play, they're a little bit more stranger dangery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next thing here, though. Outside was the oddest thing I think I may have ever seen. A woman wearing some type of skin-tight purple suit, oddly red hair that wasn't any shade I've ever seen naturally on a person, and a huge smile that was too big for her face. Thinking about it as an adult, I figured it was this thing trying to fit into a world it didn't quite understand, choosing odd accessories and a smile that caused more fear than it did soothe. Okay, so number one, this is definitely not the same smiling woman from the short films that had me looking up this smiling woman creepypasta. Because in this story, it's a purple skin-tight jumpsuit that she was wearing versus a yellow sundress. It's unnatural red hair instead of unnatural red eyes. The smile is about the same.
Clearly better.
Yes.
The yellow one, of course.
Yes, and that's from the short films.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, this is still a creepy nightmare fuel image. Like, it's somewhere between a clown and like something kinky, like some like kind of adult kinky shit.
You had to go there. Why?
Moving on.
Just why?
But like, it's still nightmare fuel. Anyway, yes. Moving on. I had to bring that up.
You really didn't. It's fine.
So my next thing here. Come play with me, she said in an unnerving childlike voice. I was a bit shell-shocked at the moment, so instead of running or screaming, I just kept staring at her. Come play with me. I promise you'll have tons of fun. I have toys and candy. Your friends are here too. Something about it mentioning my friends knocked me out of the state I was in, and I let out a blood-curdling scream and ran for my parents' room. They were already halfway to my room when I ran into them. The smiling woman's, she's here! So, holy shit, an actual smart Nair, like, snapping out of it and running for his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just, yeah, honestly, at this age, I would have, like, gone up to, like, if I'd heard a tapping at my window, I would have gone over there. And then I probably would have been like kind of like awestruck for a moment until like I started realizing that I was in danger, and then I would have started screaming and then running to my parents at that around that age. Like it seemed rather, to me anyway, rather realistic in terms of reaction of seeing this like weird thing, sort of like seeing a train wreck, and then when it finally clicks, that's when you start panicking. But moving on. I knew I should run back to the safety of the house, but I was restricted to a 20-foot radius of the house.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it says. But it was like something supernatural forced me to stay in place. She slowly got closer. Her walking was weird. Way too fluid is the best way I can describe it. And I was like reading this part, and I was like, wait, is this the inspiration for those short films? Because the smiling woman in those videos also kind of moves like a really weird, like slowly, but like almost like a stop motion sort of effect. Like whenever she moves towards like the person's just like standing there, like kind of awestruck, like what's wrong with this person? And then like they're just like moving toward them, like in a in like, sort of like they've like so almost like they've either the person themselves is walking in a very like kind of weird way, or they're like stop motioning the movements. And so this got me like wanting to check. So the first Smiling Woman short film came by, and again the films are by Alex Magana, and they came out in 2019. This story was posted in May of 2017. So it's possible that the short films were maybe like drew inspiration from this short story, since a lot of spooky like short films on YouTube that like people make like or like are like sometimes like draw inspiration from like Reddit no sleep stories or like creepypastas and stuff. But again, it had me kind of thinking, it's like, okay, so like again the red hair but it's sort of red eyes. She's got like a weird suit on, but like it's got like the yellow, like in the video, it's got like a yellow sundress. The smile, like the smiling woman, like has like a smile, like a really weird smile. That's kind of about the same. And then the movement of the woman is also very weird, and it's also very weird in the short films. So it's like just
You said it was stop motion though.
well, it's like that's how it's like kind of almost looks like it's sort of like
In the short films?
yeah, in the short films it's almost done like stop motion, but in this because in this story it's like
It's the opposite of stop motion.
I suppose, yeah, it is. It's like it's slow, but it's like fluid.
You know what it is?
So.
It's freaking Voldo's idle animation from Soul Calibur, where it's like this really slow and methodical like movement.
But it's like
it's not
super
jerky.
like
It's smooth and perfect, like the same speed to do everything. So there's like when you take a walk, you fall forward. Where she is just like it's like moving at 0G.
Yeah, that could be what it is. And again, that kind of adds to like her like ethereal sort of like nature. Like she's
because it says right in the story, like movement so precise and so perfect, no human can do it.
Yeah.
So it's not jerky.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. So again, I just like had me like, was this the inspiration, or like even like had like an inkling of inspiration for those short films? Again, I have no idea.
It is because by the end, she's wearing a purple dress.
That's true. Yeah, she's wearing a dress at the end, not a skin tight suit. So yeah, it honestly could be that it's her. Now there are some differences between, like again, like in terms of her, like she doesn't go after kids in the short film. She actually, she seems to like just like basically just she takes on like it's sort of like a like when she gets the person, that person is the next Smiling Woman in the next short film.
Okay.
So like in
the way
continuity,
I'm seeing these two creatures is she's the Ryu to the short film's Ken. They're a palette swap of each other that have slightly different abilities.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Because they're both by the end realistic-looking women that smile and wear a dress.
Yeah,
just with different colors and different move sets, basically.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to my next one then. Another knock at the door, checked the peephole, and no one. Before I could sit back down again, another knock. So this time I turned around and threw open the door, ready to punch and kick whoever was there. No one. My nerves on edge, I turned off my game and put on TV, hoping to get lost into some cartoons when I heard it. So like I got to the part where it was like another knock at the door, checked the peephole, and no one. Before I could sit back down again, another knock. So this time I turned around and threw open the door. And I just like immediately face palmed as I was reading that. I was like, you know what I said earlier about this kid being a smart nair? I take it back.
You were reading it. I could have swore you were saying, I got up, turned around, and threw up on the door. I misheard you the first time. Like, no, he didn't say that. No.
Okay, no, yeah. But yeah, it was just like, no. Just ignore it. Just ignore the sounds. God damn it. Yeah, I get it is a 10-year-old kid. 10-year-olds don't have a whole lot of like patience or common sense.
Dude, like all of us don't have a lot of patience or common sense. Because like I feel like in that exact situation you would do the exact same thing.
Shut up.
Like seriously.
Yeah, fair. That
next time I'm coming over to your house, I'm gonna be pulling that shit.
You son of a bitch.
I'm gonna knock on your door, hide. Wait till you go away, knock on the door, hide, and see how angry you get, or if you just ignore it. I know I'm telling you this now, so now you're just going to ignore it. But
yeah,
if I didn't tell you that, then you would probably get angry and be like, "Well, who the fuck is out there?"
Yeah,
and see the tracks in the snow.
Yeah, I'll wait until the spring.
Yeah.
So you'll forget about it by then.
Yeah, because I will 100% forget about this.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next thing. What my parents never told anyone was that they had set up video cameras around the house just in case. They wouldn't let me view them, but whatever was on them convinced them to say fuck the house, and we all noped out to Oregon. So first off, okay, these parents have been redeemed because they actually like good on them for like having like putting some security cameras out, and then when they see something weird, they actually did the smart thing in a creepypasta and noped the fuck out.
Yep.
Secondly, I really fucking love this part because it hints that something unexplainable was seen or heard on that security footage. And it wasn't just like the kid talking to himself. Like by the end I was kind of expecting it just to be the kid like just talking to himself and like having no supernatural elements or anything to it. And the parents just decided to move to Oregon because that's where like there's a good psychiatrist or good therapist.
Yeah, like it's a what that? For some reason I can't think of the damn name of it. The TV show of The Static.
Oh, Candle Cove.
Yeah, it's like a Candle Cove situation where it's like all in his head.
Yeah, but no, there was actually something unexplainable on the footage, and the parents reacted like you should react in that case. Of like you're in a town where kids are disappearing. Your kid has now like by the third time like honestly I'm surprised the sheriff isn't like doing that whole thing. What's that story of like the kid who cried wolf? Yeah, like I was surprised like the sheriff's not going like all like, oh, this kid's crying wolf like multiple times, like because they're not finding any. They're not finding it
where there's disappearance.
No, I get it, but like
due to a smiling woman, I don't think.
Yeah,
so.
But there's no I'd get that. However, there's also no evidence that this woman's there or like been showing up. So it's like, and again, like this, I'm actually really like the story that it actually has the sheriff like believing the kid because of the situation in the town. Because otherwise, we'd get that stupid thing in a horror movie or a horror story where no one believes the kid because there's no evidence. But then we actually apparently get some evidence from the footage that, and even though he doesn't get to see it until like much later, it's so much more like the parents actually react to it in a how you should react in that situation, i.e., get the fuck out of that town.
Also, this could have been a November story, by the way.
It could have been, but it isn't.
How would you know, right?
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
you have to load up a creepypasta
This literally was
and just see if it shows up.
No, this literally was a Russian roulette, like sort of like I just I randomly searched Smiling Woman, and this was like one of the top stories that came up. Like I think there was like I think there might have been another Smiling Woman story, but it was like on Wattpad. Like it wasn't on like creepypasta.wiki. Like literally called like WATTPAD is the website. It's like a writing journal sort of like, or like a fiction, like a fan fiction sort of like website.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like this was like the only thing that really came up when I Googled Smiling Woman when I was first searching for like, is there a creepypasta based off of that's the inspiration for those short films. So like this was the most prominent thing to come up. But
did you check on Grab-On?
The hell's Grab-On?
Grab on these nuts, dude. Yeah. I get him. Anyways, we can continue.
So we're going to go into this one here. Fuck you, Gamer in Yellow. Fuck your stupid face. I hate you. Yeah, it's all here. Yeah.
It's in the story?
It's an official quote. Yeah, it's like, Gamer, wow. I'm going to come to your house at night when you are asleep, and I will cut you.
Uh-huh. It come with like a nice slice of cake or something?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Nice. I'm on a diet though, so you should probably just keep that for yourself.
I'm just going to stuff that entire cake down your... So my next quote here is about the what he saw like years later on the VHS tape that was marked "The Smiling Woman." It showed me standing in front of nothing, but what was important wasn't what it showed, but the audio. It was the conversation I had with her that day. But the entire time her voice was this low, raspy, bestial sound, like halfway between a beast and a person. She never had a soothing voice at all. I'm not sure why she didn't show up on the video. Okay, so while I was reading this for the first time, like, because there's a bit of a buildup of anticipation. I was like, what's on the tape? what's in the box? Like, what's on the tape? Sort of like going through my head, like, because I wanted to know what was on this tape. Like, why did the parents nope out like so hard that like, and never showed him the tape and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was reading this, like this description of like nothing being there and just having this kid talking to something, and then just having this like raspy, like bestial voice, like talking in response, but having nothing there physically. I actually got a chill while reading this story, like at this point. So bravo to the Smiling Woman. I actually got creeped out by the end of the story.
Yeah.
And then my last one here, or my last actual thought, is with the last bit of the story. Last I heard about where I grew up was that a huge chunk of land was returned to the native reservation. But until then, a steady string of child disappearances continued. Oddly enough, they stopped after the land was returned. This made people suspicious that someone on the reservation took on a vendetta against the white man, but no suspects were ever brought forward. Well, that's one way to get their land back. Sort of a long con on the side of the shaman, having to wait for some random white kid to bleed on the sacrificial stone that you've put in the middle of nowhere for the Smiling Woman to be summoned and, jumpstart this whole plan. In all seriousness, though, I think this story does an all right job of presenting a spooky creature tied to Native American folklore, which, not gonna lie, when I started reading this story and it had something to do with like a native reservation nearby and stuff like that, I was a little concerned that like how they were going to be presented, because the internet does not have the best track record on that. But I think all in all, like this story does kind of present it in an all right way. Like, yeah, like their reason for cursing, like the colonizers and the white man is just. It's not them specifically that summons the creature. It's honestly like this kid who randomly. It's not like the kid's not entirely at fault. Like he's just happens to be the catalyst for the curse to be sparked, and he just happens to accidentally be like at the like happens to have a cut when he goes over to the stone and jumps onto it and like does what a kid will do, which is like climb up on a boulder and say they're the king of the castle. Like that's something that I did as a kid. Was climb up to a large boulder and stuff of that. Like how was he supposed to know that it was this boulder was actually some kind of sacrificial stone that would summon some kind of spirit monster? And like even when it's like mentioning like the native reservations, like in the bar, like the bars and stuff like that at the beginning, like it seems rather respectful. Like they're like as long like we're respectful to them, like this is their turf. Like if people start flowing in, like we will leave because like this is their place. But like they have a much better bar than like the one in our shitty town. So yeah, honestly, like the story, like when I first started reading the story, I was a little like weary about it because native reservation stuff and indigenous peoples, and I do feel by the end of this, it does represent them in an all right light with this horror story. So, also good on them for getting their land back, even if it did take several children to do it. But
They're fine.
Yeah. They're playing. They may be devoured by the smiling woman and inside her gullet, but apparently her gullet's like a pocket dimension where kids are just playing. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Mikey, the E stands for evil.
So, my first actual thought here is the pondering of how did Nair survive? Because the key thing is that the smiling woman sort of puts you in a trance, and he was able to
breaking out of it.
Yeah, he does keep breaking out of it. So what allowed him to break out of the trance?
Mm-hmm.
So my thought process is that he was able to break out of the trance because he'd heard the story.
Oh.
Yeah, actually.
Because
every time he breaks out, it's because she says something that triggers him to remember current events and the story of her. And also, the old story that his grandfather told him.
Yeah, I could get behind that. Yeah, like it's basically sort of like the other kids weren't in the know or like didn't have like the knowledge, like the terrible truth or like the knowledge, the know-how to like even like subconsciously like break free of the situation. Mm-hmm. They just got lured. Yeah, no, that's actually a reasonable reason for why this one kid, aside from being, the narrator of the story, so otherwise like, and I'm typing this now and sending it on the internet from the belly of the beast, as it were.
I mean,
he was, it could have gone that way. I don't know if I would have liked it that way because it would have been kind of dumb, but yeah, I think that it is a good that rationale is I think a good not excuse. Excuses kind of has a bad kind of word for it, or but like a good reason, yeah.
Another one is he said from the get-go that he is like very creepy savvy, like he's into that stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe because of that, he's been desensitized to it a little bit,
or he's just genre savvy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but I mean, people that are genre savvy, they might still go towards the monster because that couldn't happen in real life, could it?
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, and then it is odd that there's a sacrificial stone just out by the watering hole.
It's got to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like it would be marked or something. It wouldn't just be a stone slab out there.
Well, if it is supposed to be like some kind of like it might have just been like again forgotten, or like left out there and it's been like ages since that, like since the shaman did that or like perform or like set up that whole like curse and stuff. So yeah, it could just be that it's literally just it's been left forgotten out in the wilderness. And it's sort of that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Because it's like pretty close to a watering hole and stuff that I'm assuming like kids go to relatively frequently. It would have been found before, so like it would have like, depending on the shape and size of the rock, it might have like graffiti on it, or like people might have been partying around it or setting up chairs on it, or hell, trying to make a fire on it if it's a nice low flat rock.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just
well,
weird
it
how
also
it's untouched.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, also yeah, maybe it could have added some extra details of like it being kind of defaced, which would also maybe be a little bit more of a social commentary again on like the state of indigenous peoples in North America. Also, the trigger is that the kid bled on it because he cut himself when he was running through the foliage and stuff like that. So like that was the catalyst. Like that was the actual catalyst for this for the stone to be used as the stone was the platform, but you needed the catalyst, which was the blood.
Mm-hmm.
So like yeah, like people could have found this thing beforehand and like hung out around it and so or hopped on it and stuff like that. But the fact that they didn't bleed on it, that was the reason why it didn't happen before.
Yeah, and then I like that we actually got some evidence at the end that with the conversation on the VHS tape.
Yeah, it wasn't just a mundane thing. It was actually there was even if it's not like 100% confirmed, there's like a hint of some kind of weird supernatural thing afoot here.
Yeah, they didn't just go what the Paranormal Activity route where the kid's just talking to himself.
Actually, Paranormal Activity is a bad example because in Paranormal Activity, like you don't see the creature, but you hear it growling in the middle of the room, and then like the kid like in one of the movies, a kid like crashes into an invisible thing, says Toby, and then her hair gets pulled up, and she gets like basically hanging from her hair for a few seconds.
You might be thinking of is like the Ghost Hunter show where it's like, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Oh yeah, Ghost Adventures. He's with Zach Baggins.
Yeah.
Is that what you meant, Mikey? Or
Potentially. Well, it's been a while since I've seen Paranormal Activity, so
fair.
But I just remember the parents not believing the child in Paranormal Activity. So.
Huh. I'll have to rewatch those movies too, because like I think they were like they weren't like 100% believing it, but like or like when they finally got evidence, like again, like the kid like getting pulled up by her hair and some of that, they just like, oh, we got to keep recording this. We got to keep figuring out what's going on.
Keep recording this. This is gonna be YouTube gold.
Yeah. Honestly, that's probably how like the next Paranormal Activity movie would be. It'd be like a bunch of like fucking content creators. God, actually, there is a new one. There's a new Paranormal Activity movie that's where it when you first saw the trailers for it. Quick aside, trailer for it, I was like kind of like weary about it because it was like it looked like it was set in like the olden days, like cabins and stuff like that, in like like a rural area. Then I realized it's apparently like a woman goes out to her like to go see some like some distant relatives who are like Puritans, like they live off the grid and stuff like that, and basically live like low tech, like almost like settler style kind of look. But she's the only one. She's out there with a camera, like to kind of like take like movie, like have like to document it and stuff. And that's how we get the found footage element of it. But yeah, sorry. Quick aside. I digress. Moving on.
All right, and that's into my actual thoughts.
Okay. Gamer.
Okay. Pretty early on, it's saying my grandpa is was a kind old man who made the best of our dreary little town, period. He'd often skip the local bar to head up to the native reservation and drink at their bar. So that got me thinking, how is that making the best of your town if he's leaving town to drink somewhere better?
Yeah, that's kind of a weird. I mean,
like it
maybe
immediately follows up with an example of him doing just not that at all.
Yeah, it's like, I guess maybe that's the humor of it, or like the point of it is like he made the best of our small little town in that he didn't go to the bar in our shitty little town. He went to the better bar in the native reservation nearby.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible that the reservation is like in town?
Well, generally the reservation, like a native reservation, is just outside of town.
Yeah.
Like, or sometimes borders on the town, or it's like a few miles away.
Either way, it would make it not quote unquote local.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's weird.
Also, apparently they had to go to a McDonald's like 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
In another town, because their town didn't have a McDonald's.
So then I got to like the story's told about the curse that's put on the white man, everything. Then as soon as Grandpa's story is finished, I'm thinking, first off, I read his story a little wrong. I read it as if the natives were losing their land, so they got the shaman to do a curse, and then they grabbed a kid, bled him on the rock, and then that was actually happening back then. Okay. So then I'm like, wouldn't that mean the curse didn't work if you're telling it to a white child that's here now, if this curse happened ages ago?
Yeah,
I was confused.
But no, it's... Yeah, so, okay. Yeah.
And then I continued reading, and it's saying, like, a couple of months later, when school's over, he goes swimming, explores the woods, trips and cuts himself, goes swimming again, stops at the natives' bar. And after reading those, like, 4 or 5 paragraphs, I'm like, does this have any connection to the story at all? Because I was still thinking that the spirit was summoned previously to push them off the land, and that was just the story from the back, from like the past, and it wasn't set up for the future.
Yeah.
So I was again thinking the story was going nowhere.
And then
after hearing you read the your rundown and reading it in a clarified manner that said it as it is, I'm like, oh fuck, all right. Well, I read that wrong.
And it sounded like you also like skipped over a part in the woods too.
No, I didn't skip over it. It's just it doesn't straight up say that.
He
tripped and hurt his knee on a rock, and then he went running around and found this other rock, stood on it like He-Man, and left. It didn't say, as I stood on there, the blood ran down my leg and dripped on the rock.
Also, he didn't cut his knee. He cut his. I got it. I thought he hurt his hand on it.
He did. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
What I'm saying is, it didn't straight up say that he bled on that rock. It said
yes,
that
it did.
Bled previously. Where?
So when he jumped up and like started standing on the thing saying he's king of the castle, he then decided to lie down on the stone, holding the stone with both of his hands on either side of it, thus putting his palm, his blooded palm on the rock.
I'm king of the world. I yelled, pretending to hold a sword up, much like He-Man, and staring into the sky. I sat down on the rock while holding the sides, letting me catch my breathe again. After all the exploring, I was starting to get quite winded. Finally, I stood up, deciding to head back so I could get a bit more swimming in before I had to go home. It said nothing specifically about, like, yes, he put his hands on it, but didn't say leaving blood marks on the rock.
Okay. So,
because I thought that the curse was made and triggered in the past, I didn't make the connection that he was finishing the curse now.
Gotcha.
But a little clarity to that would actually help.
Mm-hmm. Also, like, part of that is on you as well.
After sitting down the rock, I checked my hand. I was still bleeding.
Yes, and that would also...
like saying that... Just, sorry, you kept interrupting me.
No, I know. I apologize. I'm going to mute right now.
It's fine. Like a little clarity, like when he's saying that he, like as an example for a reason for him to go back home, he's like, I checked my wound. I checked the wound of my hand. I was still bleeding. A little bit of it got on the rock. I figured I should go back to mom and get a Band-Aid on the before we go home or something like that. There's like some connection aside from just saying that he specifically sat down and held the sides of the rock.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, like a little bit of clarity would help.
Also, reading it correctly first would help, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a problem on me or a problem on the story that it wasn't clear enough. I don't know.
I guess we'll never know.
'Cause I started reading the story very late at night, and then I passed out, woke up with a popsicle stick in my mouth, and then continued
Okay,
reading. So
I'm
that
gonna
might have
say
been
that's
around when I passed out.
gonna say that's probably on you, sir. But
Yeah, it probably is, but whatever.
yeah.
Anyways, either way, they do that. They go home, and then he gets. But my mom woke me up way too early, 8:00, and says, "Son, did Billy come home last night?" I yawned over my eyes, wondering why my mom will be asking me that. And to me, I was answering him by saying, "I don't know who the hell is Billy."
Right?
Billy character.
It's the only fucking character. Yeah, up until that point, we just knew that we just knew he had a friend. We didn't know his name.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have been his brother for all we knew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this story does kind of suffer from like that issue in some stories where they just do not give you like any names of anything. Like we know Billy, and we know Oregon.
And that's not even where they are. That's where they were going.
Yeah, that's where they end up at the end of the
The
story.
only information we have for this town is Billy. That is all the information we have.
Yeah, we don't even know what state they migrated from. Like it might have been like it could be Arizona, Nevada, Dakota, one of the Dakotas. It could be Wyoming, Idaho. Like those are all those are all states with deserts to a degree.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think. To clarify, I don't think North or South Dakota have desert parts. I think they're mostly plains, if anything. So,
dude, Idaho.
Move on.
Okay.
Did we both say move on?
Yes.
Okay.
This is in regards to whatever. I'll just read it. The odd thing was Billy's windows were closed and locked from the inside. All the doors remained locked, and not one key missing. There was almost no way for Billy to run off, but leave everything in the state it was. A key needed to be gone, or a window unlocked, but nothing. So my question to that is, why did a key need to be taken for Billy to have ran away? It's very possible that he could have just opened the door, locked it, and closed it and left, or just walk out.
I think again, this part of the story could be fixed by clarity. But I think what it's trying to say is that like the key need to be removed from where the keys are. Like it could be like, yeah, no, the key need to be in like the doorknob, like left of the door or like left around. It doesn't mean necessarily. I know, but I'm saying like I think that because that's where I went to like for clarity of the story, it should say like because well yes, like either like the key needs to be removed from where it was, like where they keep the keys, so that like it could be used on the door, but like the key could still be by the door or like Billy could have taken it or whatever.
Let me ask you a question. When your outside door is locked and you're inside the house, do you need to grab a key to open the door to leave the house? The answer is no. You
shut up.
On the inside, you turn the knob and the door opens.
Yeah.
And then you walk out and you close the door, and if it was locked when you opened it and you didn't have your key on you, whoops, you're locked out of your house.
Unless here's a question. Because you and I are used to doors on the inside having like a bolt to like to turn, or like even like a little button or something on your doorknob and stuff on the inside, and then having a key and whatnot on the outside to lock it properly and stuff, or to lock it from the outside. So like maybe. Because like also actually that's what
a deadbolt.
Yeah. Also, I figured it out. So, while yes, you don't need a key for the inside, but you do need a key to lock the door afterward. So I think that's what they're getting at is that the key would have to be missing. No, the key would have to be missing for you to go to open a door, go outside, close it, and then relock it. Because like as far as my house is concerned, you need to have a key to lock it from the outside. You can't lock it on the inside and then close the door and it's locked.
Every single day, I go for a walk, and this is how I lock the door as I leave. I get my stuff on, I open the door, and as the door is open, I turn the little knob on the inside to lock it, and then I close the door behind me, and then it's locked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't have
my key to open it.
Yeah, we have. I guess you have you have a different door than us because we have a manual door. Yeah,
it's a different lock. Yeah, it's
okay.
Basically, a bolt lock versus a door handle lock.
Yeah, if you have a deadbolt, then you need a key to do it. Yes, but it didn't say that's a deadbolt, so
no,
it could just.
But it's, yeah.
When I drew the connections to my house, I do not need a key to lock myself out.
Gotcha.
So it felt weird for me.
Okay, fair enough. It's almost like we're different people. That honestly should be our fucking motto.
Yeah, kind of.
Because it comes up so often because we have such different different lifestyles. Like we have such different opinions on certain things, and we have different again. Everyone's got different things going on with them and stuff like that.
Mm.
So it's so hard. In some of these stories, it's so hard. There's things that are never you're never going to 100% relate to everyone in a story.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, that adds a little more clarity. Yeah, so again, maybe a little bit more specificity might help as well.
Mm. Yeah, even just the key had to have been taken because the outside doors are deadbolts.
Yeah, bam.
Either way, moving on.
Yes.
Regarding the missing girl,
mm-hmm.
The most noteworthy thing was about a week before she went missing. She had started talking about how the smiling woman kept trying to get her to play. So in regards to all that, that's cool and everything, but Billy didn't mention anything about a smiling woman or even a smiling man to Nair. So where's the connection? Because even if Nair said Billy and I loved weird and creepy things, especially Billy, because if that was said, then you could at least assume that just because Billy was way into creepy shit, he would just be like, oh, there's a creepy girl here? Hell yeah, I'm going with you.
Hang on.
Not even said.
Yeah.
Nothing is said about Billy and the smiling girl.
Well, because Billy's the first victim in the story.
I understand that.
Okay.
So that would either mean Billy is so dumb that the first time the spirit shows up, which would mean based on the future, it would look very little like an actual person, almost nothing like a real person.
Yeah, it would look very
just
cartoony.
Hell yeah, I'll go with you. Then that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, if that happened, then sure. I guess Billy's a fucking idiot, and he went with some weird monster. Cool. And he deserves to die anyway, so whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so we got so Billy went missing night one, basically. He was taken night one. So the smiling woman followed him home. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. Based on what we got, the context of the monster, how it's slowly kind of adjusting to being in our reality. Yes, it makes no sense that Billy would actually be taken unless it got the drop on him or something like that for some reason. But honestly,
he was born in Derpland.
Yeah, exactly. This takes place in the desert state of Derpland.
Mm-hmm. No,
actually, no.
The rest of the people aren't in Derpland. Yeah. That's a nearby town.
You're absolutely right.
40 minutes away. Derpland has McDonald's.
Yes, that's what it is. Derpland is the town. Yeah, the town of Derpland. That's who are people who came from the state of Derpland on the other side of the country. That's where Derpland. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So, also, a couple of weeks went by, and that's when the girl went missing. So yeah, there was a few weeks between Billy and the girl going missing. So I was I was concerned. Wait, no, yes, she's Billy went missing, and then how and then you started talking. How did he not start talking about the smiling woman? I was oh wait, yeah, okay. So I had to clarify for myself how long ago, or what was the time range between Billy going missing and the girl going missing. So anyway, I didn't mean to take over.
That's fine.
You go.
Yeah, basically, I'm assuming what happened was Billy was an idiot and he went with her immediately, because if he didn't, he would 100% at least tell Nair what the hell happened if he didn't want to tell his parents.
Yeah, he'd show up the next morning and like not be taken.
Yes.
and talk to
However,
Nair. So yeah.
there is another thing here I have. Oh yeah, okay, it's in the same section. I went over it. But here's like a quote that is said about Billy. In regards, Nair says this to his mom when his mom says that he ran away. Nair says, "What? Billy would never do that. There's no way Billy would run away. He had no reason to, and he just wasn't the type. He would never want his parents and friends to be worried about him." So if that's the case, even if he's way into creepy shit, it sounds like he wouldn't want his parents and friends to be worried about him being gone. So he wouldn't have just left if he had control of his faculties.
Of his own accord. Exactly, yeah.
If he was just immediately entranced, then okay, he failed that check and he's just gone.
Yeah, basically that's basically what it sums up to is like again, like he was probably in the middle of the got woken up in the middle of the night by the tapping. Yeah, he rolled his sand check or he rolled his will save, and got ensorcelled or entranced by the smiling woman's weird like even despite her like her strange like appearance, and then just immediately gobbled up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like no other saving throws. You failed your saving your will save. You're dead.
You're done.
Yeah, it's a more traditional Cthulhu game, or
yes.
like it's a purist Cthulhu game in that sense.
Well, we can move on from that now.
Okay.
So this is where my windowsill / seal kind of creeped in to change things a little bit, but it doesn't really change it too much. The sheriff was called. I told them my story, and they checked around the house. No evidence of anyone being there was found. No footprints, no fingerprints on my window seal or sill, whatever it actually is.
Yep.
Nothing. So again, I read it as windowsill. So my question was, windowsill, like, was it hanging from the window? Like, with its face up against the window? Because the way that I read it, and the way that the visual flowed in my mind, I thought like he heard a tapping, so he had to get up and go to the window and look out the window, which would, and he'd like see her standing in the backyard on the ground, which means like he's from the second floor. Because if she was just grabbing onto the windowsill, tapping on it, he wouldn't need to get up to go to the window because there'd be a giant face in the window right there.
Yeah, it's just like, hi.
Yeah. So I don't really know what the worry about fingerprints on the window would mean.
I think they're just trying to find like any kind of evidence that like somebody was trying to break in. So like, honestly, I think that's really what it's not so much that he told them that like she was there. They're just doing their due diligence and like looking for any sign of evidence that somebody was there. So
yeah, it's just dropping that kind of made me question my own like visualization of the scene.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because it made me had to write all this thinking like, are they trying to say that she was like grabbing onto the window? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, we can move on from there. The day after that, news spread through the town. Both my parents had to be at work. So this is in regards to him being left there home alone, right?
Yeah.
I know this is for the plot, so he can be taken without the parents there. I read this before I read what was happening. But like, why didn't they hire a babysitter or send him to a friend's house to hang out for the day or take him to work with one of them? Like literally anything.
Take your kid to work day, or
there's been disappearances and your kid has seen the monster twice, and like, I'll just keep the doors locked. You'll be fine.
So what if take your kid to work day 100%. Like, get a babysitter. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Kids are going missing in this town. Get a fucking babysitter. Yeah. Let him like drop him off at grandpa's.
Yeah.
The kid ran to grandpa's.
Yeah.
So fucking just leave him at grandpa's if you're worried. Oh, we can't. Like we're gonna have to. Like, yeah. What the these parents are like. they do redeem themselves in later, but like
Yes.
only because by the skin of their teeth they still have a son.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like yeah, it was kind of annoying. It's like, oh, here we go, we're rolling into the Derpland side of creepypasta.
It's like one of them is like, I'm assuming one of his parents are from Derpland, because that's why some of these decisions are terrible and some of them are good.
Honestly, I think it's the dad. I'm blaming. I'm putting the dad. I'm putting the dad on Derpland.
Throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, because like he's the one that's like, oh, well, I'll stay behind at the in the town to like sell the house and stuff, or like get the house ready and then like work and then so no, fuck, get your entire like pull a poltergeist and just fucking move, like just leave the house and go to a hotel in Oregon for a couple of for and get a new job. Just find a new job. Like this place does not want you there. Leave.
Yeah. It's GTFO for sure.
Yeah.
We can move on. So she had changed again. Her smile now fit her face correctly, looking more sweet than sinister. Her tight purple bodysuit was now a purple dress. So this is the third appearance change for her, even though the second one was kind of light. But I just made this note to say I like that she is looking more and more human each time. It's like this alien / monster is getting better at making disguises or whatever is actually happening in the situation, like a glamour or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense because like it's new to our reality. It's new to our physical plane or our reality or wherever it is. So it's trying to acclimate to become the best lure it can for luring in its prey, which is children.
Mm-hmm. And that's all I got for my actual thoughts.
Okay. So we shall move on to final thoughts. Grammatically, I think this is a fucking hot mess.
Wow.
Like I'm just gonna blatantly say, like I read this, like this was a pain for me to read. I'm gonna be honest. Like
there's no Spyro EXE though.
It's, dare I say, it's close.
Okay.
We are almost 2 hours in, and I think about an hour of that was my fucking Inquisition, or like our combined Inquisition.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I had to rewrite, or I had to retool like whole sentences in the story because they were all run-ons and whatnot and stuff like that. That said, by the end, the creepiness did bleed through for me and managed to give me a chill at the end, and like actually like, and the characters did redeem themselves in some ways by actually smartly leaving. And again, the natives got their land back, so that's cool. So because of that, like, because all that said, I will partially recommend this. Even though it wasn't the smiling woman I was expecting. I also don't think this is the smiling woman I deserved.
Wow.
But yeah,
on top
not
of
the smiling woman
on a gargoyles while saying that.
Yeah, it's not the smiling woman I wanted, and I don't think it's the smiling woman I deserved. But
it's the one you got, though.
Yeah, it's the one I got. So, yeah, I'll partially. It's like kind of on the low end of partial recommendation, but I will partially recommend it because by the end, it did kind of fix. Like, like I was by the end, I was actually like, okay, that actually gave me a chill. I can't just like say this is a completely bad, like complete wreck. So there was some good points in it. So that's my final recommendation is partial. Mikey, the E stands for evil.
Alright, so going from your review, I didn't get a chill, so I can't give it points for that for me.
Damn.
And yeah, the grammar is just all over the place with run-ons and whatnot. The grammar is all over the place. I did like the sort of bit of foreshadowing with the story, and then sort of the insinuation that he bled on this sacrificial stone or whatever.
Yeah.
To make you, oh, did he just caused the curse, and then the curse happened.
Yeah.
So, so I give it points for that. So overall, I'm gonna give this a partial recommendation.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you're talking about a lot of negativity there.
I mean, I also was giving a lot of negativity, but I also partially recommend
Yeah.
it because for me, it redeemed it by the end. But
Yeah, he was saying there's positives because like awakening the curse and everything. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And gamer, your recommendation and final thoughts.
First 5 or so paragraphs, I feel like could be condensed into 1 or 2 because previously, I felt like it was going nowhere with all the backstory and explanation of the trip. It didn't feel like it did anything previously. I feel like Billy needed to be fleshed out a bit more to explain why he just took the smiling woman's hand the first time he saw her, or like if he did see her before and then ran away, he like would have told his parents or at least Nair. Overall, though, I liked the story. Honestly, I liked the slow leveling up of the monster's glamour. How it could basically get the kids in any way. It wasn't tight cast into being like, okay, it's only midnight and only on every second Friday, and only in this one area. Like it could be inside your house, it could be over there or over there, just anywhere. So it was more threatening in that aspect.
It also does have a level of physicality because it can't just pop into your house. It does need to try and get in.
Yes.
Case in point, knocking on the window, knocking on the door, and then having the dumb kid open the door, and suddenly it now has a means of egress into the house.
Which makes me wonder if it just needs to be able to get in there once, and then it can pop in there whenever, or if it physically moves around always.
Yeah.
Probably physical, but either way. The parents weren't too derpy in this, aside from not hiring a babysitter for the third monster attack, but whatever.
Yeah. We needed the plot to move forward. Sure. Yeah.
But all in all, I enjoyed it, and I'll recommend it. However, I have an edit now, so that's what I wrote this morning when I finished reading it. That's what I wrote. So here's my edited recommendation. So my enjoyment of the story has been slain by the realization that I read the ghost story part wrong and missing that Nair awakened the spirit, not that the spirit happened previously, and all that stuff. So the plan of the shaman, as the cultist said, was a long con and just kind of dumb when you think about it now.
I mean, it was a desperate ploy. Like it was a desperate act.
He didn't do anything with it. It was so dumb. Like, okay, if you're gonna set up this this spirit attack to take children away, why didn't they just go, okay, that's set up. Now let me go grab little Billy over here. Sorry, a Billy from the past.
Sorry, little William.
Little William from the past. Bring him over to the stone, bleed him on it. Maybe not necessarily kill him because they're not monsters, but just initiate the spirits. Basically, it summon the spirit to do its job. Send little Timothy, whatever the hell we called him, back.
William?
I'm not. You expect me to remember things 10 seconds in the past? You're crazy. But send him back, and then that's happening. But instead, he's just like, I'm gonna bless this stone, and then if a kid eventually bleeds on this, then you'll be good to go. And the natives are like, okay, this is fine. Like, that's... Why didn't they just try to expedite the process,
Yeah.
All that being said, I still like the monster. I like how it evolves to trap better. But the best I can give it is like a low partial recommendation now, just because the whole setup to the entire thing is just dumb now.
You misreading the legend fucking ruined your almost full recommendation.
Yeah, no, me misreading it made it better. Me reading it correctly ruined it.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I can give it a partial low recommendation is just because the monster itself is done well, and the parents make mostly realistic choices in the modern day, because apparently the parents of the past were pretty derp.
Yeah.
So that's that.
So partial recommendations all around.
Low partial.
Low partial. Honestly, low partial.
Annoyed at the setup.
Okay, fair. Yeah. Yeah, low partial recommendation, I think, all around. Because like I got creeped out by the end, so that made it better. I do agree with you. The creatures like sort of like slowly like acclimating to our world was also really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like hot mess. It's sort of it's like a spirit trap, right? Like basically it is a trap they've laid. Like so, like again, like it requires a certain thing, like a certain thing to activate the trap. But then it like fast forward several hundred years, like well that, and then it happens. Like okay, it's like yeah, like that was honestly like one of my issues with that part was like it's sort of like it's just not great.
I'm just saying it's dumb that they would settle this up and not act on it.
Yeah.
And also, in regards to the creature killing the kids, I don't know if it will, because the creature, when described in the story, in the ghost story, within the story, Studioception, says that it's going to drive the kids away, or the white man away, by taking the kids. It doesn't say killing the kids. So it could literally just be taking them away, and they're all like in some freaking ethereal realm of like an old school cabin or whatever that they're all just hanging out in.
Yeah. It does kind of have a like,
she did say stomach.
Sorry, what?
It happens to also be in her stomach because she did say stomach.
Well, I think, and that's the, like, again, this is sort of the thing is like, if it's using subtext is like, it's probably insinuating that she eats them when it like about the stomach thing. So like,
yeah,
but it may not be
kill. So
yeah, but it may not be. Like again, that's sort of like it's left for the reader to decide. Like, are these kids getting eaten or are they just getting taken away somewhere? Like what's the Pied Piper? Like the Pied Piper took all the children of that town away to like a strange land beyond like a crevice, and they can't get to it anymore. But like, did he just like go and like basically take them to hell, or do they take them to like some weird like pocket dimension? Like where do they take them? It's sort of like the same thing as like the Hachishaku-sama.
Bless you.
Yeah, where like Hachishaku-sama takes the person or takes the kid, but we don't know where they go, and like you can speculate like they go to like a weird like they're like some pocket dimension, or like they just kill them and drag them to hell or whatever, like that kind of stuff. So.
Because if they are just taken, the goal of the ghost is to drive the white man off the land. So once they're gone, they could use that as an incentive, as when they're actually gone, the kids wander back to their respective families.
Yeah, but that's not mentioned at all in the story. So, like, yeah.
A lot of things aren't mentioned in the story,
no,
actually.
You're right, yeah.
Anyways, I should stop talking about this before I change it to not recommended, because I'm getting annoyed.
Fair enough. So... for the time being, a partial recommendation across the board.
Yeah.
A bit of a hot mess. Leave us a comment in the comment section below. How would you feel about this story if you go and read it? Let us know. But yeah, that has been this week's episode. And if you like what you heard, like I said, leave a comment in the comment section below. This gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things, cryptids. You creep it, we'll peep it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not in a weird way. No.
You don't have to make it weird and sexual like Cultist often does.
Shut up.
Free the purple jumpsuit.
Anyway. You can also send us messages on Twitter. Mikey is at the East Ends for Evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W because his name is very long.
It is.
And I'm at Review Cultist. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, it would be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without your stories that you post and share, for good or ill, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I think E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.